the one and only. I want to give my man a royal introduction. I got S.P.C's finest, man. 49er insider, Laker insider. Gonna be giving you Watts League info, all around sports knowledge, man. I'm glad to bring him on today, man. I've had him on many a time before. Mr. Smedley, L.SMED, Seats Pleasant Finest, man. Thanks for coming on today, man. Give it up for my man, S.P.C, man. Give it up for my man. Yes, indeed. Welcome, man. Thanks for joining the show, man. I want to bring you on. We got a lot to talk about. I got my Phillies joint on. I know I've been repping. I know you got a lot to talk about and tell me about my squad. So that's what I'm going to start it off with. And then we're going to jump into a few other things, no Frank, but go ahead and tell the people, a little bit about, my squad and what you've been feeling about the playoffs. And let's start there, man. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on the Sports Page show. Shout out all of those who follow. And as far as I can see with the playoffs with baseball, man, whew, Phillies lost a heartbreaker yesterday. I mean, there ain't no other way around it. Like, at the end of the day, they needed to score more runs than the Dodgers. Like, we're not gonna put the game deciding factor on the pitcher. It's unfortunate if he throws the dude out, if he throws Andy Paez out at first base, we might be talking about something different right now. But baseball in the playoffs is about being buttoned up. And at the end of the day, Philly just kind of wasn't buttoned up. They couldn't beat the Dodgers a small ball. They couldn't beat them hitting the ball out the park. And I mean, we gotta be practical about the Dodgers. If they clicking, they a machine. Can't nobody
I
really.
hate to interrupt you, big dog. Do me a favor, turn your screen just a little more. There you go, because you kind of getting yourself out of the. I want everybody to make sure they see you loud and clear.
All
There you
right.
go. You good? Perfect. Perfect.
I ain't got no mount for the bougie people. We ain't got we live in thug with passion over here. We ain't got no mounts. We ain't got no iPads. We
Yeah,
straight.
I told them, see,
Oh,
Pleasant Finest. They
yeah.
gotta already know what it
Oh,
is.
yeah.
So,
This is nothing amazing.
all right, go ahead,
Yeah.
pick up from there, man. Go ahead, tell the people loud and clear about how you feel about my Phillies. Don't hold back, like you called me earlier. You know what I'm saying? Definitely, tell me.
Well, I mean, the Phillies, like I said, the end of the day, I mean, you got to score more runs. You can't keep when these playoff games. It seems like Philly just starting to shrink the last couple years. They had a clear runway 2 years ago and got housed by the Diamondbacks. Last year they called the Mets. The Mets was a ball of lightning. No homo. They was fighting. They had a lot going on, a lot of momentum, a lot of positive vibes. So we even gave that a pass. But this year they did everything right, but they ended up landing in the wrong spot and catching the Dodgers. And at the end of the day, Bryce Harper, 300, $400 million dude, Schwarber represented. He hit two homers in one game. Yeah, but it was one game. They lost 3 games to 1. Them bats was cold the majority of the series. We can't just talk about that one game. Trey Turner, Castellanos, all of them. I mean, Philly is like the best. They turning into that team that's becoming like a regular season. They regular season kings. They destroy you in the regular season. Great pitching, but in the playoffs they shrink. They don't have that type of dude that's a closer that can put them on their back. And the end result is that they go home again early when we were expecting them to at least make it to the NLCS. So I don't know what you got to do about Thompson as the manager. I don't know if you can say we can't keep using pitching as an excuse because they had great pitching for the majority of the season. It's about them high price players: Harper, Schwarber, Turner. You know, man in
Hey,
the
but you hit it
mirror.
right on the nose. I talked a little bit about it this morning, and I said the Philadelphia media is going crazy right now, speaking on all the things that you talked about just there, like the front office feel like they put them in place, so the players maybe didn't step up. So there's a lot of pointing fingers going on right now. That's the
Right,
way
right.
I look at it.
I get
So
Philly. I mean, they got to, like I said, they at the end of the day, this is not one of them teams that you can go in there and just light a match to. You can't blow it up. You got too much money, too much salary accounted for. It's tweaks. I don't know if Thompson might got to get pulled out of his seat and got to go, but that's always the quick fix to say to fire the manager. But I'm gonna say the manager a failure when Philly on average winning 95 to 100 games the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. Like, it's wild to say I got to fire this guy. That's all they do is fire the next guy and then bring somebody else in. And well, we needed a new voice. We needed a new voice, and then they don't never develop no continuity. So that it's they in a tough spot because if you're gonna lose to somebody, you're gonna lose to the Dodgers. But if you're gonna break through, you're gonna have to get through the Dodgers, and they haven't figured that out yet with that mob that they have. I mean, I don't want people to feel like, oh, well, Philly ain't have enough. It's the Dodgers. Now Philly has enough at the top of the lineup, the bottom of the lineup. Real Mutu, Brandon Marsh, Stout. You know what I'm saying? They
Well,
just
on that note, I hate to put you in this situation, but you're a knowledgeable guy. We talk all the time. You were the GM. What would you do? I think we might have lost him for a second, but he was giving us the information on the Phillies and just basically telling you the breakdown of what we do in this situation with all the talent they have and all the bats and the big names. It's a very interesting situation. So it's tough to say what you would do if you're the manager. What I would do, I would definitely add more starting pitching. It's getting a little bit be a one-man show with Wheeler. You had some guys pitch late, Ranger pitch late, Sanchez. I think you got to add maybe one or two more pitches. And I think that maybe the manager, um, I hate to say it, man, it just seems like they may need to decide what they're going to do in that manager decision, man. They're going to have a closed door meeting on that one. So, hopefully we get our guests back shortly. I got so many other things I want to talk to them about. Thursday night football talk, is an abundance of things that I want to talk to them about on Thursday night football. So, just starting off with the Thursday night football talk, man, my Eagles are in a situation, that it's pretty tough. I wanted to get his perspective on it. My perspective of the Eagles right now, everybody's kicking them because they lost 2 games in a row. People saying, okay, they're the champs. What's going on? Y'all not gonna get it done. Some people need to get fired. Kevin Petula, AJ Brown's not happy. Heard people say get him out of there. Some people saying he's right about what's going on. Jalen Hurts did not look extremely well last night. He missed on the Devontae Smith bomb. He actually just maybe did not bring what he needed to bring. So thanks for joining us, man. We had a couple technical difficulties, but thanks for coming back, man. So
back.
basically,
I'm back.
he's back. So I was just going to pick up on where I left off. I started talking a little bit about the Eagles, but I'm gonna backtrack a little bit and let you finish up. Just tell me what your thoughts was on the if you were the Phillies manager, what would you do in this situation if you were the Phillies manager?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Philly's manager at the end of the day, it's gonna be a tough set of circumstances, bruh. Like, cause you have to understand that that game was for the taking. You held the Dodgers. I don't know what on the road. Like, what can he say? I mean, I see he handled the thing appropriately with the reliever at the end of the game. Trying to console him, let him know it wasn't on him. He made a mistake. Woo, woo, woo. But at the end of the day, all we see is the mistake. We ain't gonna be. He threw home. He missed the catcher by 10 feet when he should have threw the first base to get the man out. Philly kind of energy. They in the know. They are in what the Baltimore Ravens are in comparative in football. Nobody's going. It don't matter with the Phillies until they get it done in the playoffs. Same with the Ravens in football. Until they win in the playoffs, same like with the Buffalo Bills in football. Until they win it all or get to the chip, it's not going to matter to nobody. Can't keep losing in the first and second round of playoffs.
I agree, man. So the Dodgers are trying to go back to back. I was watching the game last night and they were talking about that. That's something that hasn't been done in a while. I got to probably look up the stat on the year that has been done. But they have an incredible team, like you talked about. It wasn't like they need to be embarrassed, like the Phillies lost to some chumps or something, but they lost at the end of the day. But the Dodgers are on a back-to-back mission. What do you think about the Dodgers and their competition throughout the rest of this tournament? Like, the Blue Jays look like incredible they took care of the Yankees like it was nothing.
Destroyed them. As far as the National League go, the Brewers get overlooked because they're a small market, but the Brewers all year long have kind of been the best team in baseball all year long. They pitching, hitting, they can hit the ball out the park. They can beat you with manufacturing runs. They got great relief pitching. They got good starting pitching on the front end with Peralta. They got the big young boy Mizorowski. They using him in relief now instead of pitching him. But I'm sure that they're probably going to change that as they get to the Dodgers series because they're going to want to have all hands on deck. They're not going to be trying to use him as a bullpen hand. And ultimately, I think the Dodgers and the Brewers will be a great series. But I'd be hard pressed to bet against the Dodgers. It's impossible for me to do so. But I can see that going 7 games, and no one should be surprised if the Brewers beat them because of the type of talent they got. Jackson Churio, Christian Yelich, Andrew Vaughn, Bryce Turang, Sal Frelick. They got hitters up and down the lineup. They should be able, Wilson Contreras, they should be able to get, they definitely can take the Dodgers 7. But at the end of the day, the Dodgers they can beat you in any way. 2-1, 6-5, 4-3. And as far as the Blue Jays on the other side in the American League, Blue Jays are doing what they've been doing quietly all year. We just don't pay attention to them as well. They suffer from the same thing that the Brewers suffer from, except they in Canada actually instead of playing in the States. The Blue Jays been beating up on people all year long. Vladdy Guerrero. They haven't even had Bo Bichette in the playoffs yet, which is arguably their second best player. Maybe inarguable to be exact. I mean, Alejandro Kirkman playing out of his mind, so that's why I say arguably the second best player. But the Blue Jays, they have pitching, they got balance, they got veterans, they got young people. It's going to be a hard mix for them on the American League side because if Seattle gets through Detroit in Game 5, I would tend to lean to Seattle because I think that they got the juice this year. Kyle Riley, 60 homers. They got kind of a movement going on. Seattle ain't never really broke through. And the Tigers, who you can't throw to the wayside, they still have the best pitcher in baseball in Tarek Skubal. And he'll probably pitch Game 5. And if Skubal pitches, you be hard pressed to say Seattle's going to win. So it's up in the air. I would say Dodgers and Mariners at first glance for a World Series preview. That's my guess. I'll come back here in 2 weeks and tell everybody I'm wrong, and it'll be the damn Brewers and the Tigers. So, but right now, I
Well,
was
no, that's a great way to, like you said, you got to keep the people updated, giving them
yeah, I
knowledge,
got
you
to hedge my bet the
dropping
right way.
gems on them. So we're
Yeah,
gonna check back. You're gonna keep us updated throughout this playoff run. Like you said, the Dodgers are a serious team. I did get a chance to check that out. The last team that actually went back-to-back winners was 98 to 2000 in the Yankees.
correct.
So those
People
were some
go
good
back.
years for those guys.
People
It's
don't
been
go
about
back to back
25,
in
like I said, it's been
baseball.
about
People don't go
25,
back.
26 years. So it's been a
Yeah.
while since somebody's done that. So we're gonna keep an eye on that. We're gonna keep everybody updated. I want to move on a little bit and talk about some football, man. Thursday night football. Let's start there, man. And I'm not too happy to start there because it was a rough night for my my birds. Philly fans all the way around the board. I talked about it this morning on one of my little segments, man. I talked about it was a rough night for Philly. So I want to get your perspective from the outside looking in. My bird game, we took it tough. So what's your perspective? What's going on Philly, man? What's going on
full,
from the SMEDs,
full
S.P.C.
disclosure.
perspective?
I want to get full disclosure to the sports page fan. The following: I do not like the Washington Commanders. I do not like the Dallas Cowboys. I do not like the Philadelphia Eagles. I am not a fan in the NFC East. So this is definitely from the outside. So I don't want people. He hating on Philly because he probably like the Skins. No, I don't like the Skins. Now he
Nah, I let
like that.
everybody know. I let everybody know you're a 49ers insider, Lakers insider. When I say that,
Let
you
it be
mean
made
you
clear,
a fan as
abundantly
well as
clear.
a lot of information. So it's
Yeah.
coming from a
Now,
non-NFC East
yeah.
perspective. Let me make
Yes.
that
Yes.
clear.
Yes, I'm just born and raised in the NFC East town, like most of the people that are following this show, and I understand. So I know what this feels like because all of my friends, one that's on this podcast and others, either like one of the three teams that I just mentioned. That's just my life. So as far as last night goes, I think first of all, it's always easy to go pile on with the Philly situation, but let me start by giving the Giants credit. The Giants have found their quarterback in Jackson Dart. They have something to build around. Cam Scatterboo is a legit option in the backfield. They play free. They play without. They play reckless. They weren't afraid of Philly. They beat Philly up front. Give the Giants their credit for what they did. How Brian Daboll schemed the game up. Giants deserve a lot of credit before we talk about what Philly did not do. So let me start there. Jackson Dart has been impressive. I know he blew everybody parlay up last week, what he did down there at the Saints, but he, like most rookie quarterbacks, going to have up and downs. Everybody thinks that, rookie quarterbacks are supposed to be good every week. That's not the norm. We've just been seeing a bunch of great youngins come through the league and they have changed their franchises so quickly, but that's simply not the norm. It's going to be ups and downs. Jackson Dart, he had an up last week. He was horrible against the Saints. This week he played lights out against Philly. Now, in terms of Philly got two things that they need to focus on, in my personal opinion. One, getting back to their identity. You cannot start trying to be something that you are not. They run the ball to set up the pass. You have to run the football to set up the pass. Saquon was moving the football, getting about 5 yards of carry last night. Then all of a sudden they start coaching a different way, as if they went into desperation mode too fast. Philly has to get back to what they are known for, running the foot. Even before Saquon, this is where everybody, because Saquon last year and he had the year of a lifetime, even with Miles Sanders and them boys a couple of years back when Philly went to the bowl, then they ran the ball to set up the pass. That is their strength because Jalen is a part of the running game. Now it looked like, the locker room fractured. I don't believe the locker room is fractured. I don't believe that one bit. Philly plays with a lot of noise around them. But what I will say is that on the field, they don't look like the same team. They let go of a lot of people. Everybody showed that short because of the names, because of Jalen, AJ, Devontae, Saquon. But they miss Sweat. They miss Williams. They miss Darius Slay. They miss CJ Gardner Johnson. Like, well, they was getting long in the tooth and they were getting older, but at the end of the day, they had chemistry. Now you're not saying that when you're sitting out there watching Adoree Jackson play corner. Now you're not saying that when you're sitting there watching Ringo out there get burnt. Like the
Oh
realization
my
that
goodness.
is that
Speaking of
Philly.
those two guys right now, I don't even want to hear those two guys' name right now. Me and you talked about that. I think I told you last week about the cornerback situation. I got a
Yes,
group text. I got a group text with a couple of guys from the basement. Shout out to the basement, man.
down
But
out the basement.
yeah, shout out to the basement. But I was just telling them, man, I don't like to make a lot of excuses, but man, we need to might be making it. We traded for a cornerback, and I heard Seth Joyner talk about on his station. Seth Joyner, former linebacker, funny as hell. He gets on there and he's like, man, you know, what's wrong with Bennett, the guy we got from the Raiders? He run 4.3, can't get on the field. He said he got to be doing better than those two guys. I just, thank you for you giving your perspective from the outside looking in. Me and you talk daily, and I tell you that it's a lot going on. I can't make an excuse the next man up, but the next man up not really doing the job. The offensive line is banged up. Lane Dickerson is out. Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, excuse me, Lane
Yeah,
Johnson. So
exactly.
they basically just, like you said, they got manhandled in the trenches as well. And
Yeah,
we talked
see
about
nobody gonna talk about
Scatterboo
that.
with Dart,
Everybody gonna talk
Dart out
about
there,
Jalen.
with the chain on,
Yeah,
looking swagged up. And
yeah,
he just got a little bit of, I take my hat off to him. They came to play, like you said, they was not afraid of us. They
yeah,
came, and they punched us in the mouth. And Jalen
yeah,
did not look good as well. He missed
yeah,
some throws to
yeah,
Devontae Smith. He also threw a pick in his red zone, which was
yes.
very inexcusable when we could have took the lead or tied the ball game up. So he didn't sleep well last night, like a lot of other Eagles fans. I know Jalen, I know he got the new wifey and all, but he definitely did not sleep well last night.
Man,
Who was
man,
your
listen,
who was
Jay,
your MVP of the game last night? If you had to pick MVP of the game, who was Smith's MVP of the game, short MVP, and also give me your shit be sorry moment of the game because that's the new segment I'm gonna tell people about a little later on. But give me your MVP and then your shit be sorry segment of the game. That's Smith's segment, man.
with an MVP to me would definitely have to be Scatterboo because he was imposing his will. I know people will talk about Doc because everybody talk about the cat, the quarterback
Absolutely.
situation because quarterback is the most important position on the field. We know this, but Scatterboo was imposing his will. He was out there lowering the shoulder, and running through people. Talking about Zach Bond, all pro linebackers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't just ducking no smoke from nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like the
Absolutely.
Giants got amazingly creative. They was running power right, power left, coming out of 21 personnel. They like it ain't matter. They was trying to run down your throat. I would have said offensive line, honestly, but I'm gonna get Scatterboo his flowers because he got in the zone and he set the tone for them. And for I should be sorry last night. I mean, it's got to be Jalen throwing that goddamn out route. Excuse my language, y'all, but that out route. Listen, like for those of you who bet player props, I hate it for you. If you had Jalen for a touchdown pass and you sitting there thinking it was going to be the one in the red zone, I hate it for you. You can't throw that ball as short as he did on the outside. You know what I'm saying? And then no, get a Giants DB credit for jumping the route. Obviously, he been watching film. Nevertheless, you cannot short throw. You throw that ball out of bounds where it cannot be caught. Those are the one or two options. If you're going to put it on him or you throw it out of bounds, he did neither. He put it in play in the middle of the field on the inside of the yard line where the DB could jump the ball and take it down the sideline. That was the problem for me. That shit was sorry. Jalen got to stop listening to what people like us are talking about here on YouTube and on the internet. Stop trying to do stuff. Stay within yourself. That play, ordinarily, any other time, he would have broke the pocket, hit the edge, ran for 5, 6, 7 yards. So what? Everybody else may not like that. That's what's effective for Philly. You got to stick to what's effective for Philly, not what everybody else wants y'all to be. And that's
Say
what.
that again, man. Say that again, man, for the people in the back. Well, we got to get back to our identity. Also, there's a lot of shit beside segments for me in that game. I could sit here and go on and on. I had a bad night, but I had a conversation with another buddy of mine, and he actually was talking about it. He's a Giants fan, so we laughed about it. But I was like, man, what was going on with your coach, man? Look, he's ready to cuss the doctor out when Doc was in the tunnel. I know how much he needed it. He did
He
not
ain't
want
want
Russell
Russell.
on that field. He's like, what the doctor was like, what's going on? Is he
He ain't
ready?
want Russell Wilson out
I'm
there
like,
jumping
Doc,
there.
you gotta relax.
He
You
wanted
gotta relax.
Russell Wilson. He was
The
like,
coach,
he
coach.
was trying. He was trying to hurry up and make sure they shot Jackson Dodd up with that good dope
Yes.
to get him back
He did
on the
not want
field.
Russell on that field, dog. I
He
was
was,
laughing like hell. I was like, man, I didn't want to see him back. I didn't want to see him back on the field.
but
I was
that's how
hoping
far.
Russ stayed in. I was hoping Russ would have stayed in a little longer.
Yes, that's how far the mighty have fallen too. Like we ain't even gonna get into Russ right now, but yeah, that's how far Russ done fell so far off that they ain't even want him in for 2 plays. Like they wasn't acting like it was gonna be the rest of the game. He over there on camera cussing out the
Yeah,
doctor. Like that was wild. That
that
was
was
wild.
hilarious, man. I'm gonna move on, Smith. We got You always know your knowledge. We talk about our picks and locks. We get our parlays on for those who do like to, throw a couple dollars here and there. Some of the apps, I ain't gonna give no promotions until we start doing some business together.
Yeah, they gotta put
I'm
some on
promoting
top of
no
the
other
screen.
apps right
We ain't
now,
giving
but
it. Yeah.
please subscribe and follow the page so I can start having a partnership with some of those people. But Smith, I would love for you to tell the people who are some of your NFL locks of the week. We can go through the schedule, and maybe pick a couple of games if you feel like you want to talk about them. I know you're a Niners fan. Y'all got Tampa Bay Bucks this week. You got a tough game this week, man. So I'd love for you to come on and tell the people about your locks of the week and who you think gonna bring some people some paper this week, man.
Man, listen, man. Let me let me say now. You know,
Let me
I
get
get
your
what I'm saying,
video
but
together.
because he
I
asked
can't
about
see your
sports.
video. There you
Yeah,
go.
all right, I'm back. I'm back.
All right, it's
I'm
back. So tell the
I'm
people
back on.
about your. We gonna get these locks in the LOX, as we call them,
People
the
see they
Jadakiss, the
yeah.
House P, the
Man,
locks.
listen, man. First and foremost, for those who gambling, man, listen, man. Gamble responsibly, whatever you do, man. And secondly, don't blame me if you done came on a sports page and said, man, B. Sean had the dude on there talking about, man, I took the 3 pick and all of them blew up. Because that's what the NFL do, y'all. They blow up. So let me tell you first and foremost, the one game that I would say put the deed to the house on, the deed to the house is probably going to be the Broncos and the Jets. Everybody like, man, they playing in London, that game early. Man, listen. Broncos gonna wrap up the Jets like a Christmas gift. Justin Fields and that, although Justin Fields statistically is not having a bad year, Justin Fields and the Jets cannot move the football. And Denver has a lockdown defense. I would expect Denver to come out there, cover that 6.5, easily sound victory somewhere around about a 24-10, 20 seconds. Denver don't, to be honest, they don't make it rain when they come offensively. They manufacture their points. Sean Payton, they methodical. So I'm saying about it, but with the way the Jets been, 27-10 to make 27-13 at most. They playing overseas, and that's an early morning game, so you got to be careful with that. But I'm liking Denver. And then, when it comes to our game, listen, we traveling to Tampa. Everybody's high on Tampa. Everybody high on Tampa in the way that they've been playing, and they beat Seattle last week, and Seattle's defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, and they were without their starting safeties, and to Tampa's credit, they were out Mike Evans and without Bucky Irvin and just getting Curtis Godwin back in the offense and the whole 9 yards. So I still don't feel that they are physical enough up front to be able to withstand our O line versus their D line. So I like San Francisco. Close game. Be mindful that Mac Jones is playing with a PCL injury. We still a week away from Brock Purdy returning. Kittle may be a game time decision. And I know everybody's saying, but that don't mean that y'all just beat the Rams. But yeah, it's still be traveling to Tampa. It's hot outside. It's a 1 o'clock. We playing the 4 o'clock start, so it's not a 1 o'clock game. So that west to east travel thing won't be as significant as it normally is playing as early in the day. But at the end of the day, we should be able to move the ball against Tampa Bay. Sam Darnold was able to carve up that defense. I expect Kyle Shanahan to be able to carve up that defense with another excellent game plan like he just gave you against the Rams. Rob Saleh is the key. Rob Saleh dialing up pressures without Bosa in the lineup for us. We done put your boy Huff over there. Shout out to the Eagles for letting us get Huff. I know he stole that money with the Eagles, but he was good with Saleh the year before with the Jets. Now we got him in the rotation with our young boys, with Williamson, and then, of course, Fred Warner, best linebacker in football. We get Malik Mustafa back in his first game back in the secondary. Demonon Lenore and Ronaldo Green playing excellent in the secondary. It would just be crazy for me to go against us right now with the type of momentum that we have. I'm thinking that we continue to move on. We got an edge in the division. We trying to keep putting our foot on the pedal with this soft schedule that we got. And I look for us to move on to be 5-1 next at the end of Sunday.
Okay, well, I know you always gonna give us that good 49ers inside. Give me one more pick. You said you had three for them. I know you said you actually had early morning lockout London, and then you had the Niners, unless I missed one. Who you got? Who's your third one?
I didn't give you a third one. I'm sorry. Well, if you're ready for a third one, take these Steelers this week. I know it's a division game. Everybody gonna be like, man, Cleveland play everybody so tough. But y'all not sold on Dylan Gabriel. Pittsburgh coming off a bye. They're fresh. They worry more about the Shador noise and the press conferences and not about what's going on in the field. And at the end of the day, they don't have enough talent. Like, we gotta stop sitting around acting like Cleveland is viable in any type of way. They trying to figure out what they're gonna do next year with these two number one picks. so they can determine if they're going to keep Gabriel or Shador or not. While they're dealing with that nonsense, Pittsburgh quietly winning games, defense improving, Aaron Rodgers not turning the football over. I like Pittsburgh to cover the number and to get rid of Cleveland, and we'll probably start to hear more Shador whispers in probably the next 7 to 10 days, and he'll probably be playing in another 2 to 3 weeks. Give me Pittsburgh, I should say, to cover that number. I like Pittsburgh 28, Cleveland 10.
Okay, so now you got a nice little three pick right there for the people that's looking and want, like you said, man, to gamble at your own risk. Or we trying to look for my man
And
Smitty
that
online.
49ers game, just so people know, that spread on the Niners game opened at 2.5. It's now 1.5, I believe. So that line is at 1.5. So San Francisco 1.5. However you feel, a lot of people don't like to bet 1.5 because they like games don't end in 1 point. Trust me, 1.5 will and can happen. Don't ever sleep on how the number fall. But that's Pittsburgh to cover over Cleveland, San Fran to cover over the Bucks, and Denver to cover over the Jets.
I like that, man. So I got a couple games I want to talk about before we move on to the round ball to the NBA. Before I let you go, I thank you for coming on again, once again today. S.P.C's finest, L.SMED, dropping all them good gems for y'all about the sports week, NFL games. A couple games I was kind of intrigued, and I'm calling my locks for this week. I actually was really liking Green Bay at home over Cincy, like you said. I don't really trust Joe Flacco and their defense, so I like Green Bay at home. I
True.
also was looking at the Chargers. The Chargers got to bounce back, man. They actually took a tough one to Washington at home. I think they're going to go to beat up on Miami. Miami doesn't look pretty good to me. They already calling for Mike McDaniel to be the offensive coordinator in Philly already. So I think he's 1 foot out the door. Um, and two more games I'm gonna ask you about, and I'm going to take New England and New Orleans, man. I like New England, like the Drake May situation that's going on. Drake made they look like they got them a quarterback over there, man. So I like what's going on in New England. Vrabel has some boys playing, and they just sometimes you wear the identity of your coach on your sleeve, man. So they playing tough football over there. I like what the Patriots are doing. I'm gonna take those 3 games for me. But I also want to ask you because I talked to a couple Cowboys fans, and they think it's sweet, but I think Bryce Young, man, and them boys over there playing pretty scrappy. That could be an upset of the week. And I also see Tennessee maybe get another win in Vegas. What's going on? Those are a couple of necessary. Tennessee may not be an upset because that might be, number 1 pick, number 2 pick bowl.
Yeah,
But
I was getting ready to say Tennessee and Vegas. They fighting to see who's gonna be the number 1 pick at the top of the draft. So Vegas beating Tennessee might be an upset. We ain't even gonna, matter of fact, we just gonna call that an even Steven because they both
yeah,
garbage.
I ain't gonna
You know
call it
what
no
I'm
upset.
saying? They both garbage. But in terms of Dallas and Carolina, Bryce Young and them are 2-0 with the crib. They do play hard at Carolina. Rico Dowdell revenge game. He on his revenge tour.
Oh, I forgot
He
about
did.
Rico.
He did have like
It's
200
like
last
Rico was
week.
paid in full.
That
Rico,
Rico Dowdell on the
you
revenge.
gotta get his
But
payback.
but if I would say this about Carolina, I don't know if they can score enough points with Dallas. I think that if they run the ball, they control the clock,
Dallas
they can slow it.
defense
But
stinks,
that
man.
but Dallas scoring the football with the ease, and for the first time we can actually say that it looks like even though they got rid of Rico Dowdell, it looked like Dallas has a viable running game with Javonte Williams. Like it looks like they're blocking better. I don't know what it is scheme
I give
wise.
them credit
Brian
to the line. I think they did a good job. Their offensive line is playing some good
They
football
always
right now.
draft a
So
good guy. They draft a good
yeah,
Tyler every year. They draft a Tyler every year that plays tackle or guard, and he's excellent all the time. Dallas ain't the issues ain't been drafting O line. It's been the other positions on the field.
another game I'm intrigued about. Another game. I don't mean to cut you short here, but I definitely was
please,
intrigued about this Rams Baltimore Ravens. Ravens look like they got a lot of things going on. They could be in trouble. Rams are coming to
man.
Baltimore. That's a lot of offense coming to
I
Baltimore.
just can't stand the Rams because they in my division. That's my rival. But Man, the Rams should destroy Baltimore. Another week of Cooper Rush. See, I think Baltimore's setting up for their great comeback because after they lose this game with the Rams, I believe they have a bye. Then Lamar will come back, and then the schedule gets soft, and then they're probably going to reel off about 4 or 5 wins in that stretch. But right now, it's no reason that, especially the Rams coming off taking that L to us on Thursday night, it's no reason for the Rams not to come out and try to destroy Cooper Rush. And Baltimore's not even like everybody hurt. Ronnie Stan, and I come from that space with being a 49er fan. Like, I don't have no sympathy for teams with injuries. Like, all that my such and such hurt and we had this hurt. I trust me. I'm still. I've been winning games with Mac Jones. Got people talking about Mac Jones good, and I know better.
Who?
You
Matt
know what I'm saying?
Jones. Who?
Exactly. Who? Mac Jones. Like
Yeah,
I ain't sympathetic on injuries. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. But the next man
yeah.
up mentality is overrated. We got to stop saying that because sometimes some people aren't replaceable.
Next man up might be sorry.
Hey, next man up is sorry a lot of times. It's a reason he buried on the bench. So we got to stop
Yeah.
all that next man up mentality. Like, a lot of times you can't, you be drowning, dealing with these backups at skill positions, QB, tackle, wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Coaching can get you but so far, but talent win the games. And Baltimore ain't got no talent right now. Everybody hurt. I like
Well,
the
speaking
Rams.
of talent,
That you
speaking
only
of talent,
told me to give
I'm
you
gonna move
three.
on to
You
the,
told me to give
I'm
you
gonna
three
move on to the
games. What?
Monday. I'm gonna move on to the Monday night games real quick because you got two Monday night games. You got uh Josh Allen, MVP Josh Allen, they coming off of L. They're going to take a
Yeah,
trip to ATL, hang out with maybe Jermaine Dupree and them. They're going to hang out a little bit, go over there and get funky down to the A. I see that being a lot of points put up by Buffalo. That's my opinion, but I do like what Atlanta's doing. I like the tight end Pitts, young quarterback. Of course, you got to respect Robinson back there. Very talented running back. And then you got Caleb Williams coming back to his hometown, man. Caleb coming back to DC, playing against, the Washington Commanders, and they actually basically want to be a revenge game from last year's, Hail Mary game, man. So I know you got some like, inside on Caleb, I think that you're familiar with his story. What's your take on the Caleb Williams return, DC? He's definitely somebody that he's been watched since high school, Gonzaga, USC, Oklahoma. He's been somebody that the ENV's been keeping an eye on. So we know that it's going to be a big game, and I think that it's going to be a difficult matchup. Commanders fans think it's a little easier than it may be, but I think the Bears playing a little more improved football than last year. They had a big battle last year. That was like one of them games that both teams were turning the corner last year, and I think Washington winning that game, they went the other way, and the Bears went left. They got off the exit. The Commanders kept playing some great football, outstanding football, man, and I'm just intrigued to see the matchup. I think that it's going to be a better game than people expect. I hear a lot of people on the radio thinking that Caleb Williams is not the quarterback Jaden Daniels is. I think that Caleb has still got a lot to prove. I'm not a big fan of the fingernail polish and all the other things that goes on, his persona that people say about him, that, hey, to each his own. You get out there on that field, you can play, and then everything else goes out the window. So I know that fans here are definitely excited about that game. I got a lot of friends and associates that's going to the game. Like you said, some Bears fans are still, out there. You will be very surprised. There's a lot of DMV fans that even moved here, but they're excited about the game. We got a couple teams who got a bye week this week. We got Houston on a bye, and we also have Minnesota on a bye. So that is kind of like the rundown for the week, man. You got a couple of games here. You got Detroit at Kansas City this week. That's another good game. Seattle is taking a trip to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is playing lights out right now. They just playing some good football. You got to be impressed with the win over Kansas City. Trevor Lawrence finally proving to everybody he's a top tier quarterback. I like what they're doing over there. Their coach, everybody laughed about him during the introduction, but they actually starting to show people why they could be a contender over there. I was impressed with them last week. We talked a little bit. I think Smed mentioned it when he was getting in a conversation about the Tennessee Vegas game. Looks like a push, but you got to give Cam Ward the edge in this one. I'm excited to see what Cam's doing. He rallied around to try to keep his team in the mix last week. Actually, and they just came up with a way to find a way to win. The Arizona thing was crazy with the guy fumbled. A lot of these guys try to celebrate before they get in the end zone, and that's not something that you need to be doing. For all the young ones watching, score, man. Get in first, then you celebrate, man. But Indy's hosting Arizona. Arizona is trying to get back on the winning track after their coach got fined $100,000 for punching one of the players in the stomach for the guy who fumbled. This is something that I don't agree with. I'm not saying fine a guy 100,000, but you can't put your hands on players and so forth. It was vice versa. They would have released that player immediately. People say they get caught up in the middle of the game, but you can't let your emotions get the best of you. You're a leader amongst men, and I did not like that from Jonathan Gannon. So take that 100K, man, on the chin. You got the Saints who playing, a little better football with Rattler, but right now I think Drake May is playing some better football. You got the Steelers hosting the Browns, Carolina hosting Dallas. Like I said, Baltimore will be hosting the Rams. And of course, you got some good games. Green Bay hosting Joe Flacco. Green Bay's trying to get back to show that they're one of the better teams, one of the most accomplished teams over the years, but they just not the same. They're trying to get back on that glory track, but they look like they're a few steps away. So we're gonna keep an eye on those games throughout the week. I don't know if my man Smed's gonna come back on, but he dropped some gems for you throughout the show. He dropped a lot of knowledge. Thanks him for coming on. See Pleasant Finest. He talked about, the Dodgers being the strength and, talked about all the good baseball things. You go back Blue Jays, and he dropped a couple of, segments for you. We'll be bringing out his shit beside segment throughout the week, throughout the year, just dropping some gems on you, letting you know it's like, man, shit does be sorry sometimes. You got to talk about it. It ain't always, the highlights, it's like some of the low lights of the game, low lights through the week. So I'll be able to bring him on next time. I want to get a chance to do an NBA preview, talk about his team, the Lakers, talk about some new faces and new places, man. NBA season will be coming up shortly. So we'll bring him back on, man. But thanks for joining us today on the Sports Page Show. Y'all stay tuned.